not lacking love.
Good morning.
To give.
This is,
She's
I'm
not
going
lacking.
to listen to
There's
this,
a moment in
so
a
I want
woman's
to share
life
it
when
with
she
you.
gets tired of being. There's a moment in a woman's life when she gets tired of being almost chosen, almost prioritized, almost respected, almost loved in the way her soul quietly knows she deserves. She's not lacking love to give. She's not lacking beauty or depth or loyalty, but she notices a pattern. Men are drawn to her, but they don't keep her properly. They flirt with her, but don't build with her. They lean on her energy, but don't protect it. They remember her when they're lonely, but forget her when they're planning their life. And at some point she sits with herself and thinks, I don't want to be treated like an option anymore. If I'm going to be in a man's life, I want to be the woman he treasures, not the woman he rotates. Carl Jung would say that the day a woman decides this is the day she stops living from her wounded persona, the version of her that performs for crumbs, and begins living from her deeper self, the part of her that knows she is not here to beg for love, but to embody it. Being a luxury is not about being high maintenance or cold. It is about having habits that reflect one fundamental truth. I am not easily replaced, because I do not live like a copy of everyone else. Before we dive into these habits, pause with me for a moment. If you've ever felt yourself sliding into the option category, answering late-night texts, waiting to be chosen, shrinking your needs, and some part of you is done with that, type the word luxury in the comments. Just that one word. You don't have to explain your story. You're simply telling your own soul,
You are
I'm
luxury.
ready to stop
You are
living
special.
like a backup
You
plan.
are rare.
And if you keep somehow landing on videos like this when you need them, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't
Respect
miss the
yourself.
next time your spirit needs this kind of reminder. At the end of this video, there will be a playlist on the end screen. Save it, and when you're about to sleep tonight, let it play softly in the background. Your body will rest, but your subconscious will keep listening, keep integrating.
95% of our brain
Now,
subconscious,
let's talk
5%
about 7
is under
feminine
our
habits
control.
that quietly turn you from option into this woman is rare, I can't treat her lightly. You move from proving to being. There is a kind of feminine energy that is always trying to prove herself. Prove she's not like other women. Prove she's worth staying for. Prove she can handle anything. Prove she's cool, unbothered, low maintenance, endlessly understanding. So she over-explains, over-gives, over-accommodates. She answers instantly. She laughs off disrespect. She accepts crumbs and calls it patience. Jung would say, this is the persona at work, the mask you put on to be accepted. A luxury woman doesn't live there. Her first habit is a deep internal shift. She moves from proving to being. She no longer uses her energy to convince a man of her value. She uses her energy to embody it. That looks like she doesn't text back just to prove she's available. She texts back when she actually has the time and desire to connect. She doesn't tolerate disrespect to prove she's chill. She calmly says, that doesn't work for me, and lets her actions match her words. She doesn't list her qualities like a resume. Her presence, her boundaries, and her consistency speak for her. A woman who has stopped trying to prove herself carries a calm security that is deeply attractive, because most people are hustling for worth. She isn't. And when a man meets a woman who is not auditioning for him, his energy shifts. He realizes, I can't just say the right lines. I actually have to show up, because she is not trying to convince me to choose her. She's deciding if I fit into her life. That's luxury. You set boundaries without turning your heart to stone. Some women respond to years of being treated like an option by hardening. They say, fine, I'll become heartless. They play games. They pretend not to care. They numb out their own tenderness. Jung would say that's just another mask, the opposite side of the same wound. A luxury woman builds a different habit. She learns to set soft but firm boundaries. Her heart stays open. But her life is not open access. She does not let a man's inconsistent energy live rent-free in her nervous system. If he only texts at midnight, she doesn't scream at him. She simply doesn't reward that pattern with her time. If he love bombs and then disappears, she doesn't chase him. She lets him drift because she's not available for emotional whiplash. If he mocks or belittles her feelings, she doesn't campaign for her humanity. She registers the disrespect and refuses to keep investing in an unsafe space. Her boundary habit is simple. I do not participate in dynamics that make me abandon myself. She doesn't need to threaten. She doesn't perform queen energy online for likes. She just lives it. A man feels this. He realizes her love is warm but not blind. Her empathy is deep but not infinite for my immaturity. I can't just push past her limits and still have access to her. That kind of woman doesn't have to raise her voice. Her boundaries speak louder than any speech could. And in a world where too many women have been trained to tolerate everything, the woman who can say no without hatred is a luxury. You keep your mystery by having a life that isn't centered on him. There is a huge difference between being emotionally available and being emotionally consumed. When a woman doesn't feel worthy on her own, she often makes a man her entire center. Her day revolves around him. Her mood depends on his messages. Her sense of worth rises and falls on how much attention he gives her. Jung would say she's projecting her unlived life onto him. She's handed him the keys to her emotional weather. A luxury woman lives differently.
This is nice
She
term,
has a habit
emotional
of
weather.
keeping her own life rich, textured, and meaningful, with or without a man.
Emotional
That looks
intelligence,
she
emotional
has
maturity.
interests that aren't
emotional weather.
curated to impress him. She has friendships that nourish her. She has goals, emotional, spiritual, creative, professional, that matter to her soul. When he texts, she's happy to hear from him, but she's not waiting in a silent room holding her breath. He enters a life that's already in motion. This creates natural mystery, not manufactured games. He doesn't know every detail of her inner world on the first week. She reveals herself slowly, in layers, as trust builds. She's not hiding. She's just not spilling everything onto the table at once because she craves connection so desperately. Mystery, in this sense, is not manipulation. It's self-respect. It's the understanding that your inner world is a garden, not a public park. The habit here is simple. She doesn't abandon her own story to become a character in his, and that makes her unforgettable, because many women lose themselves in men. It is rare to meet one who can love fully
I am
and
using
still
the
remain
time to
fully
stitch a
herself.
bottom.
That is luxury. You regulate your emotions
Repair.
instead of making him your regulator. We live in a world that treats emotional chaos like personality. Some people think intensity equals depth, drama equals passion, roller coasters equal real love. A woman who has never learned how to hold her own emotions will constantly look to a man to calm her storms. If he doesn't reply in 5 minutes, she spirals. If his tone shifts slightly, she panics. If he's stressed, she assumes she's losing him. Her nervous system depends on his validation. Jung would say her inner child is driving the relationship, the part of her that never felt consistently safe. A luxury woman builds a different habit. She learns to self-soothe. She doesn't suppress her feelings. She simply takes responsibility for regulating them. That looks like when she feels the urge to send 10 anxious texts, she pauses, breathes, journals, or texts a trusted friend instead. When she feels triggered, she notices her reaction and asks, is this about him, or is this an old wound? When he needs space, she doesn't collapse. She gives space and uses that time to tend to herself. Her emotions are still rich, deep, feminine. She cries, laughs, feels, but she doesn't make him the manager of her entire internal state. This doesn't mean she never asks for reassurance. It means she doesn't demand that he constantly rescue her from herself. A man feels this as stability, not coldness, not distance, stability. He realizes, I can be honest with her without causing an explosion. I can have a bad day without it becoming proof she's unlovable. I can step away to breathe, and she doesn't tear the house down in panic. In a world where overstimulation and anxious attachment are everywhere, a woman who can hold herself, who can sit with her own feelings without immediately projecting them, is rare. She becomes a place of peace, not because she's emotionless, but because she is anchored. That, in a man's life, feels like a luxury. You tell the truth about what you want, without apology. Many women hide their real desires because they're afraid it will scare him off. They say, I'm fine with casual, when they're not. They say, I don't need commitment, when their spirit longs for depth and devotion. They downplay their standards, thinking, if I'm easygoing, he'll stay. Jung would say, this is self-betrayal, a split between what you want and what you're willing to admit. A luxury woman has a habit of telling the truth, even when her voice shakes. Not as an ultimatum, not as pressure, but as clarity. She can say, I enjoy spending time with you, and I'm in a place in my life where I want something intentional and committed. If that's not where you are, I respect that, but it won't work for me long term. She doesn't demand he change. She simply reveals her reality. Then, critically, she aligns her behavior with that truth. If he says he isn't ready, she doesn't stay in a situationship for 2 more years, hoping he changes. If he shows, through actions, that he wants convenience, not commitment, she doesn't rewrite it in her head. She believes him, and she moves accordingly. This honesty is a luxury because it does 2 things at once. It saves her time and emotional energy, and it lets a man who is ready recognize her as the woman he can build with. Truth filters. Men who want to play see her clarity and quietly bow out. Men who are serious feel relieved. This woman knows what she wants. I don't have to guess. A woman who can stand in her desire without shrinking or demanding is unforgettable. She is not trying to trap anyone. She is not trying to pretend she's above wanting love. She stands in the middle and says, I am willing to walk alone rather than contort myself into someone I am not, just to keep you. That is luxury. You honor your body and energy like sacred resources. The feminine body is not just physical, it is emotional, intuitive, energetic. When a woman doesn't see herself as valuable, she gives all of that away cheaply. Her time is for anyone. Her presence is for anyone. Her body is for anyone who offers a moment of closeness. She confuses access with intimacy. Jung would say she's unconsciously trying to fill an inner void by scattering herself outward. A luxury woman treats herself like something
Job done.
sacred, not something scarce. Sacred means not everyone gets physical access to her. Not everyone gets to touch her, hold her, or pull on her energy. She understands that intimacy is not just about bodies. It's about souls, nervous systems, and futures. Her habit is to ask, does my body feel safe with this man? Does my intuition feel settled around him? Does my energy feel nourished or drained after seeing him? If the answer is repeatedly no, she doesn't override it just because she's lonely. She is generous, with kindness, laughter, warmth, but she is not indiscriminate with her deeper access. She says no when it's a no. She leaves when her body feels chronically tense around someone. She doesn't anesthetize her intuition with lust or fantasy. A man feels the difference. He knows, I don't get this level of closeness from her just for showing up. I have to show I am safe, consistent, and serious. In a world where many people are deeply disconnected from their bodies, a woman who is in tune with hers, who honors her own yes and no, is rare. She becomes a luxury because her presence feels like a blessing, not an entitlement. You live in partnership with something bigger than him. The final habit might be the most important. A woman becomes an option when she makes a man the center of her universe. Her entire identity orbits his mood, his schedule, his approval. When he is distant, God feels distant. When he is close, life feels meaningful. But when he leaves, she crumbles as if her whole purpose has evaporated. Jung would say she's given her entire inner authority to a human who is just as fallible as she is. A luxury woman has a deeper anchor. She lives in partnership with something bigger than any one man. Her relationship with God, her own soul, her calling, her values. That doesn't mean she's too strong to need anyone. It means her ultimate need is not placed on a man's shoulders. Her habit is to return again and again to that deeper connection. When she's confused, she doesn't only ask, "What does he think?" She also asks, "What is God saying? What is my peace saying? Does this align with who I'm becoming?" When she feels lonely, she doesn't only reach outward. She also sits with herself, writes, prays, walks, breathes, and remembers that she had a life before him and will have a life after him. This spiritual rootedness changes how she shows up in love. She doesn't cling out of desperation. She chooses out of overflow. She doesn't make a man responsible for being her entire source. She invites him to walk beside her as both of them follow their own paths of growth. A man may not articulate it in spiritual terms, but he feels it. This woman is grounded in something. She doesn't collapse when I have a bad day. She doesn't worship me. And because she doesn't worship me, I can relax and be human with her. In a world full of frantic attachment, a woman who is anchored to more than just romance is a luxury because she loves you deeply, but she doesn't lose her soul in you. If you're still here, this is for you. Maybe as you listen, you can feel two things at once. A sting, because some of these habits show you where you've been living as an option, and a spark, because deep down, you know you were never meant to stay there. I want you to know this. You are not less than because you've accepted crumbs in the past. You were operating from the programming you had, the fear of being alone, the belief that your needs were too much, the idea that you had to shrink to keep love. Jung would say the fact that you're even drawn to this message means your deeper self is already waking up. The woman who tolerates being an option and the woman who moves like a luxury are not two different people. They're two different levels of you. One was built by fear and old wounds. The other is built by awareness, boundaries, healing, and alignment. Every small choice you make from today, every time you pause instead of chasing, every time you tell the truth instead of performing, every time you say no instead of abandoning yourself, every time you return to your connection with God instead of worshipping a man, you inch closer to that luxury version of you. Not because you're becoming someone fake, but because you're stripping away everything that made you think you were anything less than rare. If some part of you is whispering, "I am ready to stop being treated like an option," type the word luxury in the comments if you haven't already, not to brag, but to mark this moment with yourself. The moment you silently decided, "I will not live beneath my own soul again." And if this spoke to your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss the next message your feminine soul may need. When you're about to sleep tonight, don't just scroll through people who once made you feel small. The playlist is at the end of this video. It will pop up on the end screen. Hit play on that playlist and let it run softly in the background as you drift off. Your body will rest, but your subconscious will keep listening. Keep releasing the belief that you must beg to be chosen. Keep anchoring these habits of self-respect, softness, and strength. Save the playlist, fall asleep with it, and let these messages sink from your mind into your soul until one day you look at how you move, how you speak, how you love, and you realize you no longer fight to be the exception in a man's life. You have become the woman whose energy, presence, and standards make it obvious to him, to the world, and most importantly, to yourself, that you were always a luxury, never an option.
Very good video. I like it.
There is a different kind of strength.
We learn, always we have to learn from the cradle to the grave to be better in our health, physical, mental, spiritual, the soul, and our life, the quality of life, good life.